Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. My name is Katana Malinowski, and I am the host of Transformational Art with Katana, making the unmanageable manageable. Welcome. Today, my guest is Heather Abbott. She is a prosperity pro. Welcome to the show, Heather.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Well, today we're going to get to know all about you and what you do and how you help people transform through your business. Um, the first place I would like to start is by finding out who Heather Abbott is as a person.
Heather Abbott is not your typical accountant by any means or financial advisor. When I used to go into the office, the receptionist always called me Bohemian Pixie. Yes, I would tell you I am an incarnated fairy. So I bring right brain and left brain together. So all the mindset work and money stuff. And I love playing. I love doing things that are fun. What the ultimate fun thing to do is to get out and dance in a warm rain. Oh my gosh, I love that. If I go for a walk and it starts to rain on me, the wetter I get, the bigger my grin. I just love it.
I can relate to that. I really enjoy the rain and taking a walk in the rain, warm or cold. It's kind of like refreshing the soul.
Yeah, I don't particularly like cold, but like I have come home in the summer before from when I was working at Investors Group, and I tossed a briefcase in the kitchen and called to my son to bring some towels by the door. And he came out and joined me, and we danced around, and the rain splashed in the puddles. And I was drenched by the time I got into the house. It was pouring. So, but it was fun.
That's fantastic. I love that. So, what are some things that make you sad or angry?
Sad, usually when I'm, well, obviously out of alignment and I feel like I'm not living up to my vision for myself. Full moons, full moons, new moons. I was born on a full moon, so they affect me strongly. But it's if somebody else is suffering and I can't help them, that makes me sad. Anger only ever really came with abusive boyfriend and husband. So other than that, I don't usually get angry. Maybe a little irritated, but not angry.
Fantastic. Yeah. It definitely makes me sad too to see people that have a lot of potential and have those abilities. You can see that would move their life to that next level, and yet they can't see it, and they're just not open to it at that time. um it's definitely
Sometimes
something sad.
sometimes it's holding the space for them, believing in them for them. But I had heard, and this was after the abusive marriage of way too many years ended, a woman said to me the most brilliant thing ever. Anki Arts, she said, just because you see the potential in a person does not mean they have any intention of ever living up to it. I mean, I'm not a sad person on the whole. Like even through the whole abusive relationship, I tend to be happy. It's just every now and then. I mean, we all have moods, right? And I
Yeah.
am I am born under this sign of the moon, so I'm a water sign. I am going to have, yeah, my moments.
Oh. And what would be the one thing that really lights you up, what makes you happiest?
Well, the dancing in the rain, music, singing. When I, it's knowing that I'm doing the things that I can see the progress, that I'm making a difference. speaking actually lights me up. I love it. I love getting out teaching, and just I love it. Absolutely do. I have a gift for making it easier for people to be happy. I can bring out the joy in people and the joy in situations. And when you do that, it lights you up too. You can't give it
Yes.
without taking it, right? Like it's wonderful. That's my joy.
Yes. That sounds beautiful. And learning to receive is also a gift. Um, I know that in the earlier parts of my life was a lot more difficult. It was a lot easier for me to give than it was to receive. And over the last year, I've really come to understand how important that is in keeping the balance and being in line with my whole self in that way.
You have to breathe in order to breathe out.
That's a good point. It's a good
Yeah.
point. When you were growing up, what did you want to become?
Depends on the age. I was checking out how old the princes were and what their names were when I was 5. I was very serious about being a princess. Um, but I also wanted to be everything. I wanted to be a mechanic so I'd be able to fix my car. I wanted to be a hairdresser so I could do my hair. I wanted to be everything. And to this day, I am gathering. Like, it's the weirdest thing. You can ask me on so many different topics, and I am able to contribute to the conversation because I just more knowledge, please, more knowledge, because I use it to help everybody, right? So it's all about, oh, that book, that's going to be valuable for somebody that needs that. Oh, that's a really interesting thing. I'll have to store that away in my brain in case somebody needs that fact, right? So, like, even we were talking before the show started about the tattoo. When if you have scar tissue and you get a tattoo done over it, you don't
Yeah.
have to have ink in the gun, just dry inking a tattoo, and it will make the scar tissue go away. So if I see anybody with that lump of hard scar tissue, I'm like, oh, I have a help for that. So I've wanted to be everything.
I can relate to that. I had many different goals as well, and it really depended on the different ages. It's interesting that you would bring up being a princess. That that was definitely something I had thought about, and even stayed up or got up early to see Princess Diana get married.
I think I watched that 6 times.
There you
Now,
go.
I was very, very serious about the princess thing.
Oh,
I
and
honestly, I think I have been in a past life. There's something about Tudor England, like with that Henry VIII's court and all that. I know
yes,
I was there. There's just something about it that really resonates. I haven't figured out who I was, but we'll do that at some point.
yes, I've even considered doing having a past life reading
I'm actually
done.
going to have one, another one. I've done some before, but yeah, you can do. There's meditations for it, recordings. Dr. Brian Weiss has some really good ones.
Okay.
Denise Lynn, she has some really good ones. And even if people listening, if you don't believe in past lives, you don't have to get the benefit of doing a past life regression yourself, like using one of these meditations where you go back and you're using your imagination, but it will resonate or it won't. You'll know
Right.
if it feels accurate, but it's essentially, it is a lot like using your imagination. But there have been in one of the regressions I was hearing somebody did, and it might have been it was I think it was one of the two I just mentioned. They were doing a regression on a Chinese lady who had an interpreter there, and she went back to a life where she was English, and she stopped speaking Chinese and started responding in English, which confused the
Yes.
translator, and they actually started translating the English to Chinese. But yes, like there's people who have had pains
Mhm.
in their body that came on at a certain age. And then they do a past life regression and they find out they were stabbed in that spot at that age. And
Yes.
just the regression makes the pain go away. Just knowing it and acknowledging it in some way works. So you don't have to believe in it, but it's fun to try.
Yes, it's that level of awareness. And awareness is the key to being able to transform everything. It doesn't matter what you want to transform. Once you become aware of what it is, where you were, where you want to be, it makes things so open and possible. Um,
Well, it's
and
a
I
way
was,
for you to, sorry.
I was just going to say that, yeah, I have those experiences where I will be writing, and this started early in my childhood. And when I'm printing words, they come out with the British spelling. So it would be interesting to know why that shows up time and again, even now. And I'm way past elementary school and even college, and going through different languages, and it still shows up. It's a rather interesting thing that I would like to explore. So,
Yeah,
getting back to the
definitely check
awareness
into
part,
it.
you were going to add.
Well, it is important because it is a way for you to let your body speak to you,
Mhm.
because that's what all pain and disease is your body trying to give you a message that there is something that the extra weight can just be because you're trying to protect yourself or you're trying to silence your body, right? So people ignore all of the symptoms from their body. So the body turns up the volume. But unfortunately, when a body turns up the volume, it turns up the pain or
Mm.
the problem, right? And there was a nurse that would ask people on their death, like when they were in the hospital, not on their deathbed, but in the hospital, like in ICU, they'd had a disease, something serious happened. And she would say, why this? Why now? And if they actually stopped to think about it, they could always answer her. It was always related to something. Like I spoke to someone who
Mhm.
had been raped when she was younger, and I don't know how it came up in our conversation, but she told me, and she had already said that she had had a hip replacement. And I'm like, oh, that's why you had the hip replacement. You wanted those sullied ones out, and you got the new ones. And she's like, you're the only person that ever picked up on that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird stuff. And again, there's a lot to me more than the accounting and the finance stuff.
Now, what I like about what you were saying about all the different aspects of the different things that you thought about in growing up and what you might want to become is the level of curiosity. And I resonate with that. Curiosity is still a big part of me and what I do. So that resonates with me. What would you say is your superpower?
Being able to bring joy to people when my friends are upset, and I didn't even know this was my thing. I thought it was normal. Um, but they've told me since, no, it's not. It's just you. When I'm feeling really bad, if I am having a terrible day, my aunt died, my cousin died, my mother died, I can call you and I will feel better. And I know I will feel better because, and it's just my superpower. That's what I do. I mean, you can't make someone happy, same as you can't make them sad. You can make it easier for them to be happy. You can make it harder for them to be happy, but you do not control their emotions. And the proof of that is anybody who's been around somebody who's suffering, if you really could control their emotions, you'd make them happy, right?
Right,
You're not in control of it.
right.
Yeah. So I facilitate making it easier for people to be joyous. That's
Yes.
me.
Um, I recently read an article about the harmfulness of telling people to get over it,
Oh, yeah.
and
Not
how
good.
deep that can actually set in their grief, and how much more out of sync with other people that can make them feel.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's totally taking away their power. It's the opposite of acknowledging them, right? I can't think of the word, but yeah, no, I can see that would be bad.
Yeah, it's a form of dismissal.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. It grief is such an interesting thing because oftentimes we only think about ourselves when we are ourselves grieving, of course. And then when we see other people grieving, we don't understand why they're doing it their way.
We all have to
And
do it our own way.
yeah, and I've observed so many people say, well, why are you grieving that way? Why don't you just move past that part? Well, if you think about that part, it's going to make it worse. Or, you know, well, it should
Don't
be
do it
like
your way,
this.
do it my way. Yeah.
Yeah, don't do
Yeah.
it.
That's like when people say, don't be so selfish, when what they're really saying is, why are you focused on you when you could be focused on me? Who's selfish, really?
And that kind of leads me into what I was going to ask you in terms of what you do. You help people bring out the ability to prosper.
Yes.
Can you talk a little more about that and maybe where people are at when you first encounter them and where you
Sure.
help them get to?
People are at different places, a lot of them. What I help, there's various aspects of what I'm doing. One is, it always brings all of my knowledge, all of my experience together, right? So it's never I go in and I'm talking to you about your finances and nothing else is going to come up. There's always something that's going to come up. Mindset's brought into it. All the things that I've been through weave together in this pattern, right? So the relationship between you and money is a relationship. And I've been through a mentally abusive relationship. And I can tell you, getting out of that is the same as getting over money blocks. So bringing those together. So I have a system to help you look at your numbers and actually take control of them and understand them. That even the most number avoidant people go, oh, wow, that was easy. So that's brought into it. Overall, what my goal is to help them get to a fulfilled life. So with that, we look at freedom, your health, your freedom of expression, being free from control of somebody else. We look at fun. We look at finances, and then we add focus. Because without the focus, you can have all three of those. Like, it's a wonderful little triangle, but you're not going to have the fulfilled life if you don't have the focus, the clarity about where you want to go. And I have seen a lot of business people struggling to try to find the answer that they're looking for. And what's happening is they're collecting courses like shoes, right? Like, oh, that's a nice pair. And it goes in the closet and collects dust. And it's just all this money is going out because they're trying to find the answer. And most of the people offering these courses or
Mhm.
services have a system that worked for them. It's the perfect system for them. And they have a lot of success. And the people are like, oh, you have success. Teach me your stuff. But what they're teaching them isn't applicable to them, or it's not what they want to do. And they're not realizing that. So my goal is to come in, see where you are, what's your situation, where are you trying to get to, help you define that, help you to figure out what your goals are, and then we map it out. What's your path look like? And I'm going to help you along that way. And I can bring in all of the things that I've been learning as I've trudged along this path. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So just tossing all that in and keeping you on your path so that you build that first bridge from where you are to where you want to be, instead of going off on all these little side roads. Like if you're trying to do a maze, that labyrinth, you don't want to go down all those dead end lines. It's a curvy enough path as it is.
Yeah.
So we have to try to keep you on it, avoid the side paths, and get you to your goal. And I really, my mission is to help heart-centered people take their place amongst the wealthy, because those people are the ones who should be wealthy. And they have to realize that money is a good thing to have. So there's mindset blocks that we likely have to get over. But if you look at it this way, you can't get sick so that somebody else gets well. You don't get poor so somebody else gets wealthy either.
Right.
So that's a hard way to explain it. I guess I have to narrow that, really hone in on the message more. But basically, some of them are starting businesses, some of them have businesses. They tend to be entrepreneurs or people with an entrepreneurial mindset. And they're always good, kind people, because I will not work with those people. Bleep that right out.
There we go. Well, that leads me to ask, because I know of these different situations myself. I recently overcame a money block that I just didn't even realize was there. Do you often come across women that have money issues? I know that, growing up, I can't recall any time that I was actually taught to have a good relationship with money, how to manage it, how to do a budget. It was here, this is how you write a check. And oh, women spend money, men earn it.
Yeah, it's a block with both, but it does tend to be extra problems with the women. There are still gender biases that happen. There's still a lot of women who feel that, that they shouldn't be in charge of the finances. Oh no, he knows better. No, he's got control of it. Well, he's not always going to be around, sweetheart, because you're likely going to outlive him. So, half of marriages end in divorce, the other half end in death.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. So you need to have some knowledge. And that's one of the books I'm writing is aimed at women who are just coming up and being forced to take over the finances because of becoming single. It's Financial Empowerment for Women. It isn't written yet, but I'm working on it. And that's just a high level. And I can help people with this without the book. If they contact me, that's another person I work with, because it is a need there. There is a very strong need. A lot of women are becoming single now, and they don't know what was done with the money, and they're already overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Even if the person that you're leaving or that has died, if you don't like them, you still go through a lot of trauma. Trust me, been there, done that. It's not easy, and you are already on so much overwhelm that if you go and pick up your typical book about finances or reach out to the wrong person, they're going to start telling you things that are way beyond what you're ready for.
Yes. I know I experienced that when I got divorced. I didn't ask for alimony because the person that I was with didn't have money and was actually on unemployment at the time, and has never had a lot of money. So I looked at that as more of a game of chase, something that was going to cause more stress and keep me connected in a way that I didn't want to be connected. I actually, if I was going to take that time to be divorced, I wanted the freedom that came with that. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. And it got scary the moment when I realized I have no savings. I have really no earnings at the time. I had just started my first job, my first real job, because for 31 years, my ex didn't want me to work unless I could make more than him. So I didn't have a work history to build from.
Yeah.
It still haunts me to this day and has made things a lot more difficult. And I keep reinventing myself and keep moving forward. Even when I went to get Social Security, when I was determined to be disabled, the Social Security representative asked me why I thought I had the right to file for Social Security when I had given nothing to the system. So there's a lot that gets missed in the process of being married. And I bring all of this up because I think that for so many women, when we're looking for help financially, we don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
why I want this book done. It's got to get done. It's designed to be like, if your husband always took care of the car and all you did was drive it, and then he dies, well, you have to know to put gas in it, and you have to know to check the oil. You don't have to know how to change the oil.
Right.
All you have to know is where you find a mechanic and that it needs to be done. That's the level I want the book to be at. I don't want it to be, oh, this is what you need to know about for you're doing your own investments, and this is how you're going to handle your own this and your own that. No, I want you to know this is the stuff that you have to deal with now. When you want to know more, these are the things that you can start learning about. But I want to keep it so that it gets the women past that initial point. It's how to understand financial empowerment for women, how to understand and evaluate your finances and your financial advisor. So it's both.
Yes. The baby steps. Because
Yeah.
if you
And I mean,
don't,
in the meantime, people
yeah,
can just reach out to me, but
if you
it's all in my head.
if you don't know how to walk, the best place to start is by putting one foot in front of the other.
And be kind to yourself.
Oh,
This is one of the
yes.
places we go wrong so often in so many things. In starting a business, I still do it. I remind myself, I catch it and I stop, but we all still do this. And you're the person who is the hardest on yourself most likely.
Yes.
If you see a toddler learning to walk, you're not going to go, oh, they only made 2 steps. Look at that. And they fell down. You're going to be like, oh my God, it's 4 steps.
Yes.
Right? Do the same for you. Celebrate the little wins and
Yes.
recognize that it's a journey. Just because, like for me, I want that book done, right? I want it published. And then if I get thinking, it's like, oh, well, I have to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this to get it published. But no, all I have to do is step one. And then actually calendar it out so that this is the date that I can try to get it published, but this is the date that I'm going to do the outline. This is the steps this is how much time I'm putting for writing this chapter. This is for the editing phase. This is for that. So if you map it out, you actually will be able to relax, take a breath, take your evenings off, and enjoy it because you're on schedule rather than feeling like you're under the gun and you have to do it now, 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 now.
Yes. Well, now I have two questions that this kind of sparked for me. And one is, of course, recognizing that there's a lot more professional women out there
Yeah.
and they are in control of their finances. but they're not always aware of how stress affects their relationship with their finances.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that and how maybe you help them with that part?
Well, there is a thing that I've heard before. It's you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
When people have asked me before, how do I tell if I've got a good bookkeeper? I'm like, well, if they say they know how to do everything and they have the answer for everything, run.
Mm,
Because they should be saying, oh, I'm going to have to look that up for some things. Because there is not a GP, which is what a bookkeeper basically is, general practitioner. There is not one who is going to know everything. Same with any specialist. There is a lot that we know. I'm an accountant, a CPA, but
yeah.
there are limits. And if I profess to know everything, that's not good. So that realizing that there is a very high likelihood that you do not know everything, and that there are things out there that you don't realize you don't know them. And if you were taught them or even knew that they existed, you could learn more about it and you would act differently. You would do differently. Like you mentioned budgets. I don't do budgets. My system is what I call an unbudget. It teaches you how to control your spending, but not based on any feeling of lack,
Mm. So kind of
right?
like a diet.
Oh, diet is die with a T. Didn't you ever see Garfield?
Yes, I love Garfield.
I had that bookmark.
Yes, I had the whole series, and yes, yes, and yes. Um,
Yeah. So
so
it's basically how I would help them is getting them to understand the parts that they don't know. And it can be the simplest thing that's obvious to me from my point of view that they don't see it. You can't read something that's on your forehead, right? But other people can see it.
right, right.
Mhm. Even I had a lady I was on a networking call with, and her and her husband, their finances are great. Everything is, taken care of. Everything, we're really good shape. And we were just chatting, and she said something. I was like, oh, so do you know this? And she's like, oh, yeah, saved her some trouble.
Yes. Um, do you find that stress for men or women
Yeah.
creates a relationship with money that maybe isn't the healthiest? So maybe like using spending as a way to
I think
relieve their
I think it's
stress.
partly the chicken and the egg story,
Hmm,
right? Because a lot of the stress comes from the mismanagement of the money, and the mismanagement of money can come from the stress. Um, there are people, I mean, everything we learn before age of 7, we take in. We don't learn to question things until we're past that age. I mean, children ask questions constantly, but if you are told something is a fact, you are not as able to question it logically as you can after that. So we take in a lot of beliefs around money and things when we're young. Um, yes, stress causes problems with money, and money causes problems with stress. And it's a matter of breaking the cycle and learning a new way to react. Because when we're presented with a situation with money, if all we've ever known is if this is on sale and I can get a good deal, I should buy it, then that's what you're always going to do, whether you need it or not. Right.
right,
So it's for my parents, they grew up, my grandparents went through the Great Depression, right? Like
right.
they are like holding on to things that it's like, you don't need that. Oh, but I might. But you don't need it, but I might. And that mindset of if I don't hold on to it when the time comes, I won't be able to afford something to replace it.
Mm,
That's coming from a place of lack. Like there's a lot of places that these mindset things hide. Um, and it does help to have someone shine a light on it for you, because it's a lot easier for someone else to see it than for you. to find it.
Wow. Yes, and that's why it's so wonderful that we have so many people working to help each other get
Yeah.
through all of these places that for so long were just taboo to even talk about openly with somebody else. It feels like we're in a transcendence where now people are finally going, you know what? We need to talk about the elephant in the room, whatever that elephant is. It's time to
Mhm.
go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. So thank you for that. With that being said, and coming up close to the end of the hour together, what is one thing you would say to your 18-year-old self?
Oh, oh, darling, you're in for a rough ride for a while. um, I don't believe in changing the past. There are like minor things that wouldn't affect the timeline
Right.
that I would toss in there, maybe, but overall, I came to learn lessons. Because experience the things that I didn't like caused me to expand. And that's how we grow the world. That's how we create it to a better place. That's why we no longer live in a place that resembles Game of Thrones with the Spanish
Right.
Inquisition. The world is always up leveling. And honestly, I wouldn't change the past because it made me who I am today.
That's wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you being here with me today and sharing some of your story and your journey and your experiences in helping other people transform. I really do appreciate you. And how can the listeners reach out and connect with you?
Well, I know some of them won't have anything to write it down on. If you search Heather C. Abbott, as long as you put the C in, you find me. If you don't put the C, you find another Heather. But my website is HC Abbott, which is ABBOTT.ca, Canadian. So .ca. So hcabbott.ca. And on there, you can sign up to become an insider, it says, and that will get you a booklet, which is an overview of my system. The one I mentioned, where you can learn how to manage your money. You can do it from that booklet. And if you're actually on my email list, number one, you do not get spammed. Trust me, they don't go out that often. And number two, if I am offering some free or discounted courses, or I know of something else that's coming up that's really valuable, I am very selective on what I share, but you get great value being on my list.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Heather. Well, thank you again for being here with me today. And I look forward to finding out more about your book as it unfolds. And thank you.
It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Transformational Art with Katana. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and share the link to this podcast with your family and friends. To connect with me personally, please send an email to transformationalartwithkatana@gmail.com. Have a beautiful day.